I swear, I am not addicted to lamps. Well, maybe just a little. You are now entering behind the scenes of a reseller, a vintage and antiques dealer who just recently closed her booth at a antique mall at the end of April. Today is the 28th of May, 2025, and I am entering, and you are entering with me at your own risk. And I'm just gonna give a quick scan of what this garage looks like. I have all my lamps right here. Well, actually, I'm missing one. There was one that I saw in my other garage that I just couldn't reach. So, but independent of that lamp, this is my stash. I am not addicted to lamps. Well, maybe a little. Right now, I'm in one of my storage garages amongst lots of furniture, stuff, and lots of lamps and lampshades. By the way, have you seen the prices of brand new lamps and lampshades at some like big box stores? Even Walmart. It's ridiculous. So I would like to encourage you to love secondhand lamps. Maybe learn a thing or two about differentiating between vintage and antique, or finding one that looks pretty similar, depending on your budget. Maybe teach you a few skills, basic knowledge that seems undoable, but it may be just enough to allow you to fix a lamp that you may have at home that you love, or maybe find you a lamp that you cannot live without. So, closing my booth, not my choice. Certainly put a stitch in my summer plans and my goals as a reseller. But I'm new here on YouTube, and I really would love to share some things with you. Some skills, some general knowledge, a sit down and chat like this. So I hope you enjoy. This particular storage garage already existed. When I did close my booth, I had to get another storage garage. So certainly one of my goals for this summer is to whittle back down to just two. And by the way, if you find me looking down, it's because I tend to ramble, get off subject, and I have to kind of check myself. So that's why you'll catch me looking down at my little cheat sheets. Anyway, since closing my booth at the end of April, my focus has primarily been on obviously getting stuff out of my booth, getting stuff into my storage garages, organizing my storage garages, kind of converting it from complete chaos to organized clutter. So this summer I plan to have some curated garage sales. My first one is coming up this weekend, weather permitting. Weather here in Maine has not been cooperative, so we'll see. But I've had some private sales, so yay. And today my sit and chat is a focus. I just want to focus on my lamp addiction and how I want to share with you some lamp knowledge, some lamp skills, to re-love your lamp, or to find a lamp that you cannot live without. So I hope you stay on board. If you are new to my channel, welcome. And if you are returning, welcome back. My name is Julie, and I hope you stay on board for the rest of this video. I've got lots to show you. So let me give you a little backstory. My lamp obsession started in 2023. kind of the winter of. I had a friend who said, "Oh, Julie, you will love this place. I've got to take you. I've got to take you." And she knew that I love to pick. So, stores, antique malls, things like that weren't always my go-to. Obviously, I'm a reseller, so picking was always my go-to thing. So she said, "I've got a picker's paradise for you." So somewhere in Northeast Texas, she took me to this place, and this lady has this expansive ranch with lots and lots of outbuildings, open areas of things, buildings without doors or windows. It's quite a clutter, but yes, I did love it. And that's when I found her stash of lamps and lampshades in various buildings. Had to climb piles, had to, walk on floors that weren't quite secure, but that's how it all started. That's where it all started. So a little long history, a little going back. I've always been attracted to lamps. Always, always. I'd find them in thrift stores, garage sales, yard sales here in Maine. Most people tend to call them tag sales. And sometimes I'd even find free roadside picks. Get to know me. That's a good thing. So I always had several in my booth for sale. Most of them were without shades. Some were with shades. It kind of all depended. I sold over the years. I've been a dealer in a booth for almost 17 years. I was a dealer in a booth for almost 17 years. So over those years, I've sold dozens. Of all types, from modern to mid-century modern to vintage to antique, lots and lots of oil lamps. But I often lean towards those that required little to no maintenance, meaning no rewiring. So I did the picks that I got that needed rewiring or decent repairs. I kind of put them in my storage here for a later time. I kept on procrastinating. It's like, I've got to learn how to rewire lamps. So, and there were some lamps that I kept for myself. I have a preference of lamps. I don't like overhead lighting. I prefer lamps. So it depends on what your style is or what your vibe is. So let's see. So that's going back a little about me, and I'll go back to, let's see, spring of last year. So through the winter, I made a few hauls. I returned from Texas back to Maine with about 60 lamps. I was so excited. My husband wasn't as excited as I was, but I did leave room in the car for him to return with me. So that's always a funny joke that usually I'm the only one laughing about. But last winter or in spring, I started learning some basics. Starting with, it sounds silly, but how to professionally wrap a lamp cord. And you know what? It does make a difference when you put those lamps on a shelf and you know, have that wire that's just kind of like sitting around. It doesn't look so good, or sometimes I'd wrap it in and tie it in a knot. That's not the way to do it. So I learned how to professionally wrap a lamp wire. Yay! I'll teach you that too. So anyway, on YouTube, I found a lot of great videos, how-tos, how to rewire, how to do some simple repairs. So I started delving into YouTube videos, and I started following people on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. Anybody who was into lamps, like I was beginning to get into lamps. So I had been following this person. She goes by Dr. Lori V. She's here on YouTube. She's an appraiser of antiques and such. And so because I'd been following her and I really seemed to trust her knowledge, I had scheduled a online or FaceTime, I guess, appraisal of some lamps. And it went, well, actually, it started off really bad because something happened wrong with my FaceTime. And so she said, you know what, let's just reschedule. And I was so upset because I was so prepared for this. And so we agreed we would reschedule and determined within 5 minutes, I fixed whatever problem there was with my FaceTime. Called her right back. Somebody in her office answered, and she was right there. So she did the appraisal. I will always be so thankful because I realize her time is precious. Of course, I paid for that, but still, you know, I got to get the appraisal. It was 3 lamps, 3 of my best lamps. And she did some very good appraisals. I ended up selling one of those lamps for $250, and she appraised it anywhere between $250 and $300. It was a private sale. I'd never even put that particular lamp in my booth, but I will show you a picture coming up soon here of that lamp. Precious. Let's see, the other one I put into my booth. I'm not going to wiggle on the price. I didn't wiggle on the price, although it was part of my booth closing sale, so somebody could have taken a good advantage of my 20% off. But it's like, I'll keep that lamp before I just, you know, sell it for nothing. And then one of the 3 lamps that I'm talking about needed to be rewired, so it's still in the back burner. It's a beautiful antique lamp. I wanted to make sure that I really had rewiring down to a T before I touched that lamp, because it was a bit complicated. So now let's jump into spring, summer. I've come back from Texas, and my hands were full. I had lamps that were in this garage to begin with. I brought back at least 60 plus lamps. I'll show you some of those lamps here coming forward. So my hands were full. I still didn't, even though I'd watched videos on rewiring, the lamps that I put into my booth were ones that just, you know, needed cleaning, some general repairs. Most of my time I spent on cleaning and looking lamps up, getting myself full of knowledge for lamps. So my goal, this is a hindsight, 2020 is, hindsight's always 2020. But my goal for last summer was to bring in a lot of lamps into my booth, to become known as someone who provided a big variety of all lamps of all styles, likes, prices. But I think our season here, being a tourist season, summer, I also was tasked with bringing lots of other stuff into my booth. Things move quickly, or turn around, you're getting stuff in, taking stuff out. So I didn't get to put the number of lamps into my booth that I wanted, and that kind of bummed me out. But finally, in November, well, that's after summer, I finally devoted one of my back wall shelves, 10 feet long, to lamps. And then the floor below that shelving unit, I also put lamps. And before I left for Texas again, at the start of December, I had 59 lamps in my booth. Hindsight, another one of those hindsight 2020. Yes, as a reseller, I know that selling lamps at a shop like an antique mall or an antique store really do a lot better when they have a shade. For convenience, people love to just be able to pick up that lamp, buy that lamp, bring it home, and instantaneously have a beautiful lamp. So most of my lamps, one of my downfalls with having a booth, for instance, is that you're limited to space. And so you can only put so many lamps in your space. So to maximize the number of lamps, most of them did not have shades. And, but, despite the fact that I had lots of lamps, but not lots with shades, I did sell quite a few through the winter. So jumping back now to this past winter in Texas, I, of course, was hoping and praying that this, what I call hoarder's paradise, still existed. And yes, it did. And I went back 3 times and got more hauls, got more lamps. I think I got about 90 of them. And this past winter, I also capitalized on a large pile of lampshades that she had. So I probably brought about, I wanted to bring back more than I did, but I could only fit so much in my car. And during the winter, I honed up my rewiring skills. I did more research. I did more learning. I upped my skills, by the way, just from just general rewiring to doing an inline switch. And if you don't know what that is, I'll show you someday. Anyway, got on YouTube, lots of how-to videos. I was trying to learn as much as I possibly could. Basic lamp electricity, and obviously rewiring techniques. And I also continue to follow and find more people on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook that were lamp people. So now we go to present day. This is coming to the end of May, and obviously here in my garage, I'll show you a video of it, but it definitely, what you see behind me are, I guess, 3 shelves. And what you don't see on the other side is a long table, all of it covered with lamps. So obviously I don't have enough appropriate shelving. My lamp shades are piled high on some tote boxes. So it's not set up the way I want it to. I'll need to get more shelves or sell some lamps. But I did sell quite a few over the winter in my booth before closing my booth. And I've just recently sold 2 lamps to a long-standing Instagram follower. And I have a garage sale coming up. Not this garage, another garage. And I'm going to pick probably 6 lamps to bring to that sale. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. So I'll be picking about a good half dozen of them. So, and then of course, I initially for this summer, I had plans to advertise that I could rewire your lamp for a minimal cost. I'd find out how much people charge for that, and certainly try to kind of find a lower price to, you know, get some business. And that's kind of on hold because I've got a lot else going on, and but I still plan to do that. And I do want to, I'll do a video on general rewiring of lamps and share that with you. So that's it. That's it for our sit and chat. I hope you enjoyed. I've got so much to do, so little time, and probably over 200 lamps. So, anyway, as you get to know me, picking and thrifting, climbing piles, trash to treasure stories will always and are always my favorite stories to share. I want to bring you so much more behind the scenes of a reseller. Sometimes touching upon the not so pretty part of it. I know that's not probably the most popular thing on most social platforms, but you know, there's a lot behind the scenes of a reseller that they don't show you. So I'd like to be able to share that with you. And if anything, you know, it's quirkiness. It's you got to laugh at your own mistakes. You got to laugh at your own quirkiness. So like and subscribe to help me grow. I'd like to be able to do, I think it would help me to do these sit and chats live. But I need a lot more subscribers, so help me there, help me. Anyway, you'll find out, you'll see that my interests are varied. It's not just lamps. I don't even know where to begin. My interests are quite a hodgepodge, but today's sit and chat was about my lamps. So I would like to eventually do, well, I already told you about the live sit and chats. I'd like to be able to do some live sales right out of my garage. But that will come with time. That will come with time, and, you know, once I get myself a little more organized. Anyway, So please check out my other videos, like and subscribe, and I thank you for watching me. Enjoy your day. Come back soon.